In 2024, I made it my mission to love reading again. If you're new here, my name is Francis. I'm an engineering student turned video editor. Reading books was something that I really loved growing up, but school kind of made me hate it. In 2023, I read 5 books, and that's when that Christmas I decided to buy myself a Kindle. And now that we're in 2024, I read 18 books and I'm still reading more. So in this video, I'll be sharing all of the books that got me back into reading, and maybe you'll find something amazing for yourself. Let's go. So the first book is called The Crimson Champions by Gregory Zarowski. I'm a bit biased because of this book because I actually know Greg and he's actually a player in my D&D campaign, but I really think it's a great read because when you read it, it feels like a D&D game. The book follows a group of adventurers that are chasing down a group of powerful mages and trying to defeat their undead army before they take over the world. You know, classic high fantasy stuff. Smooth too, if you're into quick books. Next up are actually 2 books from Jim Butcher's Codex Alera series, books 3 and 4, which is Cursor's Fury and Captain's Fury. Codex Alera is basically a high fantasy series where magic is based on something called Furies, which are like these elemental spirits. They're kind of like Pokemon if you want to think of it like that, but they are accompanied with a sorcerer that controls them and they can do all sorts of stuff, and it's pretty cool. I will say book 4 felt so much slower than book 3. So I actually spent most of this year just trying to slog through book 4, especially the beginning. However, I did power through it because the political intrigue was so interesting to me. By the halfway point of book 4, it was so easy to get through the rest. Like, honestly, it was great. Books 5 and 6 are already on my TBR, so hopefully I'll get back into that. This is 9 books actually, but they all belong into the same series, so I'm putting them all in here. And that is another series by Jim Butcher, and that is the Dresden Files, books 1 through 9. This series made me try Audible, and it genuinely changed my life. Dresden Files is essentially a paranormal mystery thriller adventure novel that follows Harry Dresden, this wizard detective, as he fights all of the evil in early 2000s Chicago. This series literally has everything. It has adventure, lots of action, lots of drama, romance, political intrigue, whatever the heck you're into. This series definitely has it somewhere. If you're a fan of like Doctor Who, Sherlock, John Constantine, mystery aficionados, that this is basically for you. You should definitely check this out. I was literally obsessed for like a good quarter of the year. Plus, I was born in Chicago, so hearing all of the different landmarks and streets made me a little bit nostalgic because I can actually remember them. So this is the part of the video where you know me as a high fantasy fiction nerd, and you see me jump into the nonfiction productivity nerd stuff. Business stuff. And but bear with me because book number 13 is a book that I actually read multiple times this year, and that is Feel Good Productivity by Ali Abdaal. Ali Abdaal is my favorite YouTuber right now. He is a doctor slash YouTuber turned entrepreneur, now a writer, and essentially he makes a lot of videos about tech, business, productivity, of course, and how to run his own business and YouTube stuff and all that jazz. And he released this book that teaches you that being more productive also means making it more fun. And he goes into the depths of research and science on how being able to feel good about the work that you're doing actually creates a better output. It sounds simple, but there's a lot more into it. And what's great about this book was that because I read it multiple times, I feel like I got something different out of this book every single time I read it. A lot of times this year, I felt sluggish, especially with my work. So reading tips on how to gamify work or how to appear more confident than I usually am, it really helped me out a lot. And I definitely recommend this book for anyone who is trying to feel better about their work. And also, if you're listening to the audiobook, it's essentially the same as listening to one of his YouTube videos. So I definitely recommend it because you know the kind of quality that you're going to get. Book number 14 is $100 Million Leads by Alex Hormozi. Now, I want to be honest with you, I actually hated this book at first. I listened to the audiobook first, and the way that Alex narrates it it's so fast, and like most of it, like 99% of it just went over my head. I didn't get anything at all, and I had to re-listen to it. Otherwise, it's just like, what am I doing, right? But aside from the narration, on a business sense, this book is actually really valuable. Admittedly, I'm not a great marketer, but hearing all the ways that Alex was able to find leads and transition them into customers was really eye-opening to me. Definitely, this is the kind of book that I would want to read again when I'm further along in my business journey. Book number 15 is The E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber. At the end of last year, this book was at the top of my list. This book has so many lessons, and if you're a beginner business owner or you're trying to get into freelance, this is probably like the most resonating book that I can recommend, because it follows the story of a baker and how she went from hating her job, working in her business, to then working on the business and actually enjoying her job. And it teaches things like how businesses actually work and how to hire people. So I feel like at any level in your business, you can definitely read this and feel good about it. This is probably my number one business book of the year. Definitely would read again. Book number 16 is The Art of Focus by Dan Koe. I thought this book was another productivity book teaching you like techniques on how to focus, for example. But actually, this is more of a motivational book. And I say this because I don't think this book was targeted towards someone like me at the time of reading the book. It's a little bit woo, but it did make me realize like how much distraction there is around me and around the world, just in general, anywhere from like on my phone to the computer to, you know, social media and stuff like that. But it is a book that definitely made me aware that I need to work on managing my time and managing what I should be focusing on each day. And since reading it, I've been spending a lot less time on social media and posting in general. And even though as I'm trying to go back into it, I'm not trying to let social media or any distractions run my life, because right now I feel happier than I was back then. Book number 17 is The Motivation Myth by Jeff Haden. And this was a book that was widely recommended. Ali Abdaal recommended it. This is a book that really genuinely changed how I view motivation. Before reading this book, I always thought of motivation as like a spontaneous feeling, like a determination. Like you wake up one morning and you feel motivated to make yourself some breakfast because you had a good night's sleep and you want to feel good and start the day off right? But that's not actually how motivation works. He describes it as motivation creates accomplishment, which creates more motivation. And it's sort of this endless cycle. And this is something that I've tried to add into my systems, especially for video editing. So like when I'm working on a project, there's a lot of times where I feel overwhelmed that, oh, like, where do I even start? I don't even know what to work on. And it feels like it's going to be a never ending struggle just to get through this project. But with the motivation myth and the idea of trying to create motivation through accomplishment, I can do the small things. Like I can work on the project for 5 minutes, or I can do the easy tasks of the project that don't require much thinking. And because of that, I'm already bought into completing the project, and that makes my life a lot better. And it's something more feasible, and it's a lot less of a lift than what I am currently doing. The final book on this list, book number 18, is The $1 Million Weekend by Noah Kagan. Fun fact, I actually edited some of Noah's earlier videos. He is a business entrepreneur. He runs his own $1 million company, and he makes YouTube videos about how to teach people to get rich and stuff like that. From chapter 1, Noah really tells you to take action. That is the number one thing that he wants when you read this book. And if you are like a entrepreneur, kind of like me, where I read a lot of business books and trying to go my business, but I'm not taking as much action, he will call you out on it. If you really want to start your own business, definitely follow this book. But it's definitely a book that you want to read, act, take action and then come back to the book, read, take action, kind of like a textbook. I can actually see, oddly enough, see this book being a textbook one day in the future, but it gives you techniques like embracing failure by doing a coffee challenge, or creating business ideas by listing out what are the problems that you are having today. This book is probably in my top 5 things to read when you are just trying to launch a business, even if you're a complete beginner or if you are trying to start your 5th or 6th business. It's great for people at all levels, and it's definitely something that you need to read, take action, because otherwise this book feels like lost knowledge, I want to say. So definitely recommend this, and hopefully I will take some of the lessons into 2025. So those were all the books I read this year, which is not bad considering I went from 5 books to 18 books, which is essentially more than 3 times the amount of books that I read. If you enjoyed this video, please let me know in the comments down below, because I would definitely like to make more book videos in 2025. I hope you have a great start to the new year, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.